Wow, how American can I look? Just a huge McDonald's cup with bacon. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and today's video is going to be my February wrap-up. So in the month of February, I read a total of 25 books, which I don't even know how I was able to do that. The reason why I read so many books in February is because Mayana from Little Wolf Reads hosted a month-long readathon called the Booktube Games. I'm gonna link Mayana's channel in the description below because she did such a good job with hosting, coming up with the idea, hosting it, and it was her very first time hosting it. She's planning on hosting another one in July, I think July, sometime in the summer. I cannot wait to participate in the next Booktube Games. So 25 books. This is going to be a pretty long video, so let's get started. The first book I read was an audiobook called Sauk Hill Girls by Claire Legrand. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So the reason why I gave it a 3.5 instead of a 4 is because, well, I did enjoy the book. There were some parts that I wasn't totally into, like so everybody says that it's like super feminist, has super feminist themes to it. While I was reading it, it had like, yeah, girl power, but at the same time it was like men bashing, and like, yeah, I get it, some of these men weren't shit in the story, but it was just kind of weird and a little unnecessary, and sometimes I did get a little like not interested. But for the most part, it was a pretty entertaining story. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I finished is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is an actual YA book. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read is A Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Now, I read this book in the beginning of the month, and if you follow me on Twitter, or if you did follow me, I don't know if you did at the time, I was like gushing all about this book because I freaking love the Diviners series, and this is actually the sequel to the Diviners. If you follow me on Twitter and you followed me at the time, you would see that I cried at the end, like, and I posted a picture of my crying self. I'm not gonna do it right now, but if you follow me on Twitter, it's still on there, so you'll be able to see my crying face. Basically, the Diviners is set in 1920s New York, follows a group of 6 characters, and there's like supernatural themes. It's pretty freaky. It's like actually a really freaky book. It's definitely got some moments where you're just like freaking out. And I listened to both the audiobook, and then there were times when I would read along with the audiobook, but I do love the audiobook. It's great. You can hear all the characters, like with the 1920s, how they speak in that accent. I can't really, honestly, I really can't give too much away because it's a sequel and I don't want to give spoilers, but I highly recommend you guys read The Diviners. Yeah, Lair of Dreams, 5 out of 5 stars. Speaking of crying, I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Y'all, I cried so hard while I was listening to it because I was listening to the audiobook at work, which was not a good idea because like I was reading, I had to stop myself from doing my ugly tears. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, Avi. So the next book that I read was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I just started getting into V.E. Schwab's like books last year. I've had this book for a while now, and I don't know, I just wasn't always in the mood to read it because I do know this is a super high fantasy book, and I think that actually was like kind of not hurting a little bit. It was kind of making me a bit hesitant because I do love fantasy, but this is super high fantasy, and V.E. Schwab's writing is very wordy. Like, don't get me wrong, I love her writing style, but for me at least, I found it a bit difficult to get into. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this as much as I did. 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I read is The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. So I'm actually doing like a kind of reread slash keep slash catching up to Rick Riordan's books. So late last year I actually finished reading the Percy Jackson series, and I'm trying to catch up to, well, yeah, kind of catch up because the series is done, but I had read up to the Mark of Athena like freaking long ass time ago, and so basically I've been reading the Heroes of Olympus as well. It's got, okay, so this one, as opposed to only Greek mythology like the Percy Jackson series, this one has Greek and Roman mythology. I can't really explain too much because The Son of Neptune was the second book in the Heroes of Olympus series. And also, if you haven't really read Percy Jackson, which if you haven't, you should. It's really good. Don't give into the whole hype, oh, it's middle grade, middle grade. Okay, first of all, middle grade gives me such a book hangover. Like, when I finished the Percy Jackson series, I had to go back and read like an old favorite book, like one of my smutty romance books, because I needed something light, because man, it was such a heavy like series, and then I like marathoned it back to back. But like I said, Son of Neptune, 5 out of 5 stars. Enjoyed it. I really love Rick Riordan and all the adventures they get to. So if you haven't read any of Rick Riordan's books, I highly recommend them, starting with the Percy Jackson series. Okay, so the next 2 books that I finished was Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, both by Leigh Bardugo. These are the second and the third books in the Grishaverse trilogy. I was reading them because I want to read King of Scars very soon. I wanted to read it last month, but I didn't get to. I gave Siege and Storm a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave Ruin and Rising a 3 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read is The Nirvana Threads by Rachel Tremblay. I don't think I rated this book. As you can see, pretty small. It's a magical realism book set in the 90s. So I was kind of down for like the whole nostalgia factor, even though I was born in 1994, so like I don't really remember, even though I claim to be a 90s kid. So I wasn't sure if I really wanted to leave it a rating. I was entertained by it, but there were just some parts where I was like, what? But it's cool because there's like even a little, it's like a little mini graphic novel in the background. Don't have a rating for it. It was kind of entertaining, so that's okay. So the next book that I read is Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I think the sequel's coming out next year. Next year? Or maybe this year. One of the two. I liked it. The next book that I read is An Assassin's Guide to Love and Treason by Virginia Boker. I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. So, here's the thing. I'm not a critical reader. I don't think I can do it. I rarely rate books really low. But every once in a while, then you just keep hearing me put this book against my foot because I was just very disappointed with this book. And the book I'm talking about is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Listen, I hate saying it, but I gave this book a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like giving it the 0.5 stars was being a bit nice. I say this because I read this book as like a group buddy read because I've been wanting to read this book for so long. I've had it on my TBR for so freaking long. So when I saw that a bunch of other people were going to read it, I was like, oh yeah, so we can discuss this. Group buddy reads, they're like amazing. So basically it's about this girl named Agnieszka and her village, and they live near like this haunted forest sort of thing, and ruling over their village is a magician called the Dragon. Now, first of all, Agnieszka just really annoyed the fuck out of me, okay? She annoyed me. The dragon was a fucking asshole. But somehow we're supposed to believe she like fell in love with him like not right away, but it was kind of almost insta-lovey. I mean, people could probably claim, oh no, it's like an enemies to lovers story. No, it's just a dick. And Agnieszka was stupid. Honestly, never gonna read this book again. I don't even think I'm gonna read her next book, Spinning Silver, even though I think I've heard some people say that it's better than Uprooted. The writing wasn't terrible, but it just kind of seemed like a lot of nothing happened. Like there was, okay, so this book is about 450 something pages long, but like nothing happened. And it was so stressful because this just kept on fucking going. I don't know if that was just me. I know that a couple of the people in my group by the read, they just ended up DNFing it because like me and this other girl, Heather, we finished it and we're both like, no, I don't like it. 1.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I'm gonna unhaul it. The only reason why I wouldn't unhaul it is because it's yellow. I don't have a lot of yellow books. So whenever I do like a rainbow picture in my Instagram, like this is one of the books that I use because I don't have any other yellow freaking books. As soon as I find some more, I'm getting rid of it though. Sucks. I really wanted to like it. Okay, rant over. So the next book that I read was House of Furies by Madeline Rue. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. On to the next book. I read Where There's a Will by Amy K. Rognally. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a Christian cozy mystery, which Christian books aren't, I'm gonna be honest, it's a genre that I never reach for, but it was pretty entertaining. So the next book that I read, or reread I should say, is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I just finished, I just did a reread of Six of Crows in January, and like I said when I was talking about Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, I read this because I'm going to be reading King of Scars very soon, and I wanted to brush up and remember, and 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read is an ebook called Picture Not Perfect by D.E. Haggerty. I also got this book in exchange for a review from the Facebook group that I'm a part of. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Another mystery. It wasn't exactly a cozy mystery. It was the second in a book, or it was the second book in a series, and I was able to actually keep up with it because it was kind of standalone-ish. It was just like the best friend of the character, of the main character from the first book. Kept me entertained. I wasn't always a fan of the main character. I think that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read is Beneath the Citadel by Destiny Soraya. So I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is her first book that she wrote, but this is definitely the first book that I've read from her. And it's about this group of friends. My weakness. They're trying to basically, I don't know if it's like technically overthrow the government, but they're like in a group of rebels, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with the government, because in the Citadel there's like constant reports of people just like getting sick, kind of. They get into this coma-like state, so they're trying to figure out what's going on, and apparently there's this thing underneath the Citadel that's the cause of this. So basically there's this prophecy that they're told that they need to destroy whatever it is that's happening, or the city will be destroyed, and most likely the world as well. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I recommend it. It was very entertaining. Also, peep the cover. This is fucking dope. So the next book that I read was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I recommend you guys all read it. Next book that I read is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi, and I also read the novella that's in there, Destroy Me, which is Warner's little backstory. Not backstory, but it's just like a little extra tidbit, which is basically what a novella is. I didn't rate Destroy Me because I don't like to rate novellas, but I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Listen, 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. Easily. So, freaking loved this book. I cried at a lot of parts of it. The only thing, I wasn't as impacted with the ending because the last like 5 to 10 minutes of the audiobook, I was listening to this at work, kept on getting interrupted by my fucking coworker. He kept on talking to me. So I wasn't really immersed as I had been before. I feel like if I had been immersed in it, it would have been like so much more, like it would have hit me harder. But because I kept on getting interrupted and taken out of that world, I wasn't able to really, it just kind of sucked it away from me, and it sucks because I freaking loved it. But either way, I still gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely planning on getting the physical copy very, very soon. So the next book that I read is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, and this is a reread for me. So I think this is like more of a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm doing a reread with, I'm doing a group buddy read with this book, and this is again a reread for me. So the next book that I read was A Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro. This is the 3rd book in the Charlotte Holmes series. Her next book is actually coming out tomorrow. It's March 4th, so it's coming out March 5th. So I wanted to read it before the next book came out. Gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I definitely liked this book a lot more than I did the second book. Listen, the ending had my heart melting. Freaking Jamie Watson, Charlotte Holmes, ugh. So glad I'm not a teenager anymore, but damn, they gave me the feels. I think you guys should all read it. It was really good. Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. So the second to last book that I read is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. Okay, so this book is between a 3.5 and a 4 star. I liked the book, but the thing is that there were some times where I wasn't completely invested in the storyline. Like I would have to go back and listen to it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just wasn't able to really keep up with it. I do like stories about fairies and stuff like that, so then this book has a lot of that. It was pretty actiony. I was actually able to like have my normal reactions where I would like gasp, or I'd be like, oh my god. It's like a 3.5 to a 4 star. Not gonna lie, this book is like a really big cover buy for me, but I figured let me read it because I have too many books on my TBR. So the last book that I read in the month of February is Pride by Ibi Zoboi. So obviously this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's about this girl named Zuri Benitez, and she is of Haitian and Dominican descent. So it's set in her neighborhood of Bushwick. It's in her neighborhood called Bushwick. And basically she's kind of like, she's very proud about where she came from, but what's going on in her neighborhood is a bunch of like gentrification happening. So it's her trying to come into terms with the fact that the place where she grew up in is changing, and there's really nothing she can do about it. She's very hesitant to let the change happen. So it was very interesting because we're seeing the place we grew up in changing, and because of that, the people that you see every day of your life, they're changing. People are changing. Like her sister went off to college and she came back and she's like different, which isn't a bad thing because everybody has to adapt. But I do understand her hesitancy towards letting the neighborhood change as much as it did. It's just like a huge shock, and I did really enjoy reading this book because, first of all, Pride and Prejudice, one of my favorite classics. Second, I'm a very huge fan of retellings, so getting to see where they use modern language and modern slang, which is the same thing as modern language, not necessarily, but it's like similar. So I do love being able to see that. Yuri's character is she very much reminds me of my family. So headstrong and stubborn. Not that stubborn is a bad thing. It's like something that I really do know, that I see, and there's such strong female characters. I do recommend that people read Pride. It was a 5 out of 5 star for me. So, okay guys, so that completes today's video. This was a bit of a long one, I'm not gonna lie. So I wanted to let you guys know, my friend Shauna from Shauna Banana Reads is actually created this book club that I joined called the Banana Buddy Reads Book Club, and I'm going to link her video and her channel below, basically introducing what our book club is going to be doing. So we're all going to be group reading one book a month, and this month we're going to be reading Enchantée by Gita Trelease, and at the end of the month, we're like Shauna and 2 other people from the book club are going to be doing a live show. The live show is also going to be us talking about the book we read, and then there's also going to be like other topics. Like I said, I'm going to link her video in the description below. I'm also going to link the book club's Twitter, and if you want to participate in some of our discussions, because we're also going to be doing like little special things, mostly on weekends, because I do know that's when a lot of people are free. So all you have to do is use the hashtag BananaBuddiesBC, and like I said, follow our Twitter. We're really excited about this. I'm very proud of Shauna. She's such an amazing person. I recommend that you subscribe to Shauna, and also I'm going to be linking everybody's channel who is in the book club, and I recommend that you subscribe to all of them. They're all really, really sweet people. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!